Well, at least 70 people have been killed by heavy rains and flooding in the country. The government now confirms with more rain expected through the weekend as fears are rife that people could contract waterborne diseases while the doctors are still on strike. Regarding the doctors' strike, we also have the latest on that, with legislators now saying that the health function should be reverted to the national government, accusing governors of not handling the function well. Good evening. This is TV47 Weekend. Thank you so much for finding time to join us on this broadcast. But first, let's have a look at the highlights. Good evening once more. My name is Eric Munene. Our sign language interpreter is Rhoda Nyamai. In a bid to end the prolonged deadlock between the government and striking doctors, a joint parliamentary sitting on health on Friday was adjourned, prompting the parliamentarians to summon top officials, including Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumicha, Treasury CS Njuguna Ndung'u, and Labour CS Florence Bore, as well as the Council of Governors, after they all failed to appear before the committee, which sought to resolve the ongoing doctor strike that has entered its 44th day today. Elizabeth Atieno kickstarts this bulletin for us tonight.
11 a.m. Friday morning, a standoff ensued during a planned joint parliamentary sitting between the health unions and the government after parliamentarians expressed their fury over the absence of all relevant cabinet secretaries and the Council of Governors in the meeting.
Because I know where Waiguru is right now. If I had those powers, I could bring her here.
Chair COG is watching these proceedings from the comfort of our office.
A section of senators have vowed to oppose the increased allocation of funds to counties, saying the governor's move to turn a cold shoulder on the meeting is enough proof that they lack respect to the legislative arm of government.
They come for us asking for budget, and at the moment when we want to discuss issues, they are claiming superiority.
Yes. Ile budget wewe unaweka kwa State House mabilioni, mbona usichukue tu bilioni 3 upatie madaktari warudi kwa mahospitali waendelee kutibu watu.
Additionally, the senators and MPs have threatened to support the proposal to revert health to the national government, arguing that it is clear that the governors are not up to task to solve the ongoing crisis in the health sector.
I have never agreed with members of parliament and my colleague senators on reverting the health function to national government. But from this, I am 40% persuaded. It's only 10% remaining for me to cross to the other side.
On its part, the Council of Governors has stood its ground, further issuing a stern warning to striking medics and urging counties to commence the recruitment of new doctors.
Wakati umepewa notice kwamba urudi kazi na umekataa kurudi kazi, umesema uko na solidarity na wale wako Nairobi, wale wa Nairobi wakupatie kazi.
Elsewhere, the health unionists say they were certain that the government representative would not turn up for the meeting.
The senators and the MPs are surprised. We are actually not surprised at all. We would have been surprised if they turned up for this meeting.
The same thing that is happening here. We went to Tharaka Nithi and there was no show up. And we've gone there twice.
The Cabinet Secretaries for Health, Labour and Treasury, as well as the chairpersons for SRC and Public Service Commission, as well as the Council of Governors, have been summoned to appear before the Joint Parliamentary Health Committee on the 2nd of May 2024 as the legislators seek to find a lasting solution to the ongoing doctor strike amidst failed talks between the doctors and the government. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Let's go to our top story now. The heavy rainfall currently being experienced in different parts of the country is likely to become worse in the next 48 hours, with the weatherman warning Kenyans to move to safer areas to avoid the effects of the floods that will be accompanied by strong winds. Paul Kirobi with the details.
Heavy rainfall that continues to be experienced in several parts of the country will continue for some days to come, hence likely to affect people living in different regions. The weatherman has warned that floods will affect people to a larger extent if they don't take caution. The heavy rainfall is likely to intensify more than 50 milliliters in less than 24 hours in areas of Rift Valley, Highlands West, east of the Rift Valley, Nairobi and some other areas. The heavy rainfall is likely to be accompanied by gusty winds, large ocean waves in the Indian Ocean and strong southerly winds in the eastern sector. Residents from these regions are advised to be on the lookout for potential floods, flash floods and poor visibility. The water levels in rivers, lakes and dams are expected to remain high. People living along downstream rivers and along seasonal rivers should be very careful, since water may appear suddenly even though it might not be raining in the specific area. Residents are advised to avoid driving through or walk in moving water or open fields and not to shelter under trees and near grilled windows to minimize exposure to lightning strikes. People living in landslide-prone areas, especially over the slopes of Aberdare Ranges, Mount Kenya, Western Kenya and other hilly areas, should be very vigilant. Strong winds may blow off roofs, uproot trees and cause structural damages. Large waves has also been projected to affect marine activities. The information has been conveyed to the Office of the President, Deputy President, relevant ministries and even State Department for Environment. Paul Kirobi, TV47.
Now, a lorry carrying sand and tens of people was swept by floods at the Mwatini River at Sultan Hamoud Kilome sub-county towards the Ngoto area in Makueni County. While Kenyans continue to witness heavy rains, at least 70 people have been confirmed dead. The government now has asked people to exercise caution, as Ruga Eval tells us.
Friday afternoon. Residents who seemingly dared death by trying to cross the swollen Mwateni River in Makueni County. This video showing the moments the occupants of the lorry, which had also carried sand, was swept away, with 6 families reporting their kin as missing.
So kuna lori ilikuwa hapa, iliko pale hivi. So ikawaambia waingie, siongeze weight ndo ikuwe na weight isibebwe na maji. So hapo katikati gari sijui ni dereva ama ni gari ikaswipiwa away. And so that's how I lost my sister and several, like not less than 20.
According to the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, at least 70 people have perished following the ongoing heavy rains that have left death and destruction its wake.
Mbere South tumekuwa na watu wawili wameaga, Mwea watu wawili wameaga, Embu West pia tumekuwa na case moja.
Just like in Makindo, where family is now seeking help from the government and other organizations to help in retrieving the body of their kin who drowned in River Kiboko. Musingila Mwanza, who is said to have drowned in the waters, was the sole breadwinner in the family.
Tumepoteza mtu wetu na maji akienda kazi, na sasa hii tumetafuta hatumupati.
In Nairobi's Mathare area, one of the most affected by the torrential rains, search and possible rescue efforts are underway as families scour through the debris looking for their kin who went missing after the floods. It was a case of same script, different cast in Meru counties where 4 people have been confirmed dead.
Our county has had 4 fatalities. We lost 3 people in Igembe South and 1 in Tigania Central as a consequence of drowning.
Tonight, over 70 confirmed dead, with the worst yet to come. Ruga Ewal, TV47.
Now, the country is facing a real humanitarian crisis due to heavy rainfall that has caused floods in the country. In several areas in the nation's capital, Kenyans have been displaced from their homes, with one such area being Mathare and Kiamaiko, where thousands have been left homeless and desperate. Our reporter Kisewa Emory with more on that.
Images that paint a gloomy tale. Country is currently grappling with a crisis of massive proportions as hundreds of thousands have been displaced due to the floods. Valley Bridge Primary School is one of the centers where displaced residents in the Kiamako area are being housed. The residents fear that women and children could develop health and breathing complications due to having to sleep on the ground as well as being overcrowded.
Environment iko chini, afya wako sawa. Tunataka hata usaidizi kwa watu wa afya na wanalala chini, hakuna baranketi, hakuna anything, hawana chochote.
Sasa hali ya watoto iko mbaya sababu hiyo baridi na waingia, wengine wako na asthma, wengine ni watoto wadogo wenye wamezaliwa juzi.
A significant complication is that schools, many of which serve as displacement centers, are set to open next week on Monday, which residents say would leave them nowhere to go. The community in the area has banded together to provide help, spearheaded by various organizations such as the Red Cross and Joy Divine, a Kiamaiko-based food bank.
So as of today, we are helping with dry foods from our kitchen and our food bank. And we have also brought clothes so that the young children can get some clothes because we know that families have lost everything.
In the narrow streets of Kiamaiko, we find various residents trying to salvage what they can after the homes were demolished by the floods.
Mtaa yetu sioni ikiwa mzuri, siwezi danganya. Juu obvious hata ukiangalia venye hali iko, unaona venye kuko. Naweza lala hata huko. Hiyo si ni ngumu, hiyo ni siwezi lala.
Hakuna usaidizi tumepata kuanzia saa hii. Tuko tu hivi, hata chakula hatuna.
The residents are now calling for the government's help, with several insisting that no help has been forthcoming from the elected leaders.
Waonekani MCA tu msiju pali yako. Mimi nasikia tuko na MCA.
Kisewa Emory, TV47.
Now, still on that, the ongoing heavy rains causing floods have forced more than 100,000 people to be displaced in the country, with the majority of the victims camping out in schools in an attempt to find somewhere to at least lay their heads. Given that schools are scheduled to resume next week, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua now says that over 46,000 schools are likely to be affected. Here's more.
With just hours before Monday, the day set aside for the reopening of schools, another crisis posed by the ongoing heavy rains causing floods is unfolding, this time in the education sector. A spot check by TV47 in some of the most affected areas by the floods showed that a majority of those displaced by the raging flood waters have camped in school.
The schools will reopen as scheduled, as planned. But where there are cases where the people on the ground, the county governments plus the national government administration and the directors of education in those respective counties make a recommendation to the PS, basic education, we can always extend for a few days as things settle down.
The scenario, according to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, affecting at least 46,000 schools across the country.
And for those 64 schools, the ministry, working with the Nairobi County Director of Education, will make an assessment, and where they need to extend for a day or 2 or 3 for a week, depending on the severity of the matter, that decision will be made.
On Thursday, Education PS Belio Kipsan stated that it is all systems go for the beginning of the second term amid the floods, even as the Deputy President hinted that there could be a disruption in learning.
The challenges that have come with the rains, and these are part of the preparation of ensuring that our children will smoothly fit into their schools next week as we open.
Anastasia Mkabi, TV47.
Now, Flight Technical Senior Sergeant John Kinyua Murithi, who was among the military officers who perished in a chopper crash in Elgeyo Marakwet last week, has been laid to rest today at his farm in Kirimunge, Kirinyaga County. The event was attended by a number of people, including family, friends, colleagues, and leaders. Sergeant Kinyua has been eulogized as a diligent and hard worker who loved being in service to the country. He is one among the 10 officers who died in the April 18th helicopter crash.
As a respect to our senior sergeant.
An event that was filled with sadness and grief.
Tusamehe makosa yetu kama tunavyosamehe na sisi waliotukosea.
The burial of Sergeant John Kinyua Muriithi.
Died while deployed as an airframe and the engines technician, which earned him respect from his peers and seniors.
The number of people who attended the ceremony are testimony to the positive impact the Sergeant Kinyua had on the people in the community.
We are all here because you impacted our lives in a special way. We are all comforted with the fact that the memories of the time spent lived on us with you.
Friends of the family vowing to stand by the wife and children of the deceased wherever and whenever they can.
The greatest authority in heaven and on earth is on your side.
His fellow comrades have praised his diligence and commitment to work, saying he was devoted to his work.
Senior Sergeant John Kinyua Muriithi diligently served in the Kenya Defence Forces and in particular the Kenya Air Force for 16 years.
Senior Sergeant John Kinyua Muriithi, who was among the 10 who perished in a chopper crash which also claimed the life of Chief of Defence Forces General Francis Ogola, has left a family of 3, a wife and 2 children.
Departure is indeed a great loss to his family, to the entire nation and Kirinyaga County in particular. He may no longer walk amongst us, but his spirit lives on.
So far, 5 of those in the crash have been laid to rest, with more funerals expected from Saturday. Vera Alberta, TV47.
Well, of course, we hope the family finds comfort. Time now for a very short break. Don't go away. We'll be back with more.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na Nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus niko niwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Now, the National Assembly's Committee on Agriculture and Livestock has pledged that it will not leave any stone unturned on its ongoing probe on the supply of substandard fertilizer to farmers across the country. The committee now wants all farmers who were supplied with fake fertilizer to be compensated if KEBS and private investigators find that the fertilizers distributed by the national government were fake.
Tonight, pressure is mounting on Agriculture CS Minthuka Linturi to vacate office over the fake fertilizer scandal. Members of Parliament who are now calling on the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, to worsen the process of an impeachment motion against Linturi.
We're elected to defend these people. Make sure that the irreducible minimum is that the Minister of Agriculture, Franklin Mithika Linturi, should take responsibility and be relieved from office as he awaits for criminal charges against him.
Wiki ijayo tunangoja speaker's approval. Na mimi nataka speaker ni mtoto wetu kutoka nyumbani. Speaker, hiyo motion ya agriculture ya Mithika Linturi na kuomba uapprove. Nataka kuonana na huyo mtu ana kwa floor ya.
This as the parliamentary probe into how the fertilizer which failed quality standards found its way into NCPB depots gained momentum, with the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock conducting public hearing in NCPB stores in Trans Nzoia, Uasin Gishu, Kakamega and Bungoma.
We have also been able to see by ourselves some of the fertilizer under question, and we will be carrying a few samples back with us that will be subjected to tests by Kenya Bureau of Standards.
Out of 4,000 plus bags, all of them have been sold except for 42. So means a lot of, and I don't want even to call it fertilizer. It is just something else. It's not even a fertilizer.
A section of farmers who gave their views still finding it hard to understand how they were seemingly duped by the same government that is supposed to protect them.
Sisi kama wakulima wa eneo hii tunasema kwamba lazima ukweli ijulikane na wale wote wenye walihusika waweze kuwekwa kukutana na sheria ya nchi hii.
The MP is now pledging to get to the bottom of the matters, even as the farmers remain at a crossroads over the time lost as the planting season unfolds.
Investigating to find out exactly what is happening, and those capable, I can tell you, they'll have no place to escape to.
Nelson Mwareza, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, moving on, the Kenya Kwanza administration's pledge to construct hundreds of dams countrywide is seemingly catching up with the government at a time when the dams could come in handy in holding huge volumes of water that are otherwise causing major floods in most parts of the country. As of now, 70 Kenyans have been confirmed dead following disastrous rains, and over 130,000 Kenyans affected, with the government being caught off guard yet again.
And to address this challenge, we are working on innovative investment mechanisms through public-private partnership to construct at least 100 dams.
A pledge that is now seemingly catching up with Kenya Kwanza administration, with the heavy rains which have been on meteorological department radar for a while now. Immediately, Kenya Kwanza administration took the reins of power in October of 2022. The government pledged to let the freeze put in place in 2020 on now projects and construct 100 dams across the country, which could play a huge role in mitigating the effects of floods by holding huge volumes of water that could have otherwise caused major floods in the lower region allowed to flow freely.
That we are better prepared going into the future, especially with the coming together of the national government and county government with all the other agencies, and now having a coordinated approach under the National Disaster Operations Center.
And as more heavy rains continue to pound the country, more disaster is glaring, with 70 people dead as of today, over 130 Kenyans affected by floods in various parts of the country, more affected being Nairobi County. This forcing a disaster management meeting with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who says they are considering putting 4 billion shillings in management of ongoing floods following heavy rains.
Yeah, I think we have agreed quickly. You mobilize contractors who are working for Kura to make sure those footbridges are restored. We are going to provide funds from the National Treasury so that we make sure children are able to go to school. I think that is something we need to do right away.
Kenyans are now faced with disaster, the government seemingly on the same path of allocating more funds while Kenyans are dead, more homeless, DP Gachagua pledging to work with county governments and in a similar sentiments as of those of last year, urging county governments to prioritize Kenyans.
To them for the purposes of emergencies. And again, even where you have exhausted the funds, Governor Sakaja, you can still reallocate within your own space, because at the end of it all that money that you have is for the people of Nairobi. And if they are dead and carried by water, there will be nobody to enjoy those services.
Even as Kenyans continue to face more crises, the Met Department has warned of more rains on Saturday, urging Kenyans to be cautious. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47, Nairobi.
To politics now. Tonight, UDA's much-anticipated grassroots elections were marred by violence, delays in disbursement of voting tablets, and missing names of aspirants from the digital register as voting kicked off on a slow start while closing late into the night. UDA Party Elections Board Chairman Anthony Moora says that voting did not take place in Kibera and Mathare after goons blocked party members from voting and stole some tablets. There was uproar in Nairobi, where aspirants asked the party to postpone the exercise that began late afternoon while heavy rains hampered the exercise in Narok. Here's Apollo Kamau with the details.
90% of our members here who have duly registered are not able to vote.
President William Ruto's UDA party ambitious push to hold the country's first election generated mixed results after aspirants protested their names missing from the digital register and asked the party to postpone the exercise, which was marred by low voter turnout, a situation replicated in most polling centers in Nairobi.
Sasa hapa watu kama almost 25 to 30 na wale watu imekubali ni watu wawili peke yake. Imekubali watu wawili peke yake, lakini imekataa including aspirants wote. Tukipeana ID yetu inaonyesha kwamba nini? We are not in the system.
We also tried to vote and are rejected, saying not found, not once, not twice.
They postponed this election to a later date, which will be very essential for everybody.
Among those unable to vote and who walked away in frustration were Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja and Dagoretti South MP John Kerry, who are voting for their respective candidates.
I am a registered member as per the register that is on the party's portal. However, when it comes to the gadget, I do not appear as a bona fide voter. So it is quite a big problem.
Leo tulienda kupiga kura, tukaona kuna hitilafu kidogo ya mitambo kwa sababu ya jina. Kuna wale ambao hata bado wako hapo sasa, majina yao yalikuwa yamekosekana kwa orodha. Tukaongea na chama, wakasema ni mambo ya IT, wametatua kwa sasa na ni jambo la kawaida, mitambo hufail.
In Kibra, Nairobi County, the party was unable to hold the election after goons blocked the exercise and stole the tablets.
We have had several incidences of violence, especially in Kibra and Mathare, where our gadgets were snatched. We have recovered the gadgets, and the security is following up that matter. But generally, everything is going on well.
In Narok, heavy rains hampered the exercise amid chaos in Narok East.
Venye tulikuwa tuna distribute gadgets, tukaanza kukosa ya makituo hasa ya melili yote. Tukafuata gari yenye alikuwa amechukua kutoka Tallying Center. Tukafuata tukakuja kukuta kwa msituni. Hata tumekuta wananchi wakitaka kuchoma hiyo gari.
In Homa Bay County, the exercise went on smoothly, with Party Secretary General Cleophas Malala impressed by the turnout.
Watu 180 wameshapiga kura hapa katika kituo hiki. Na hii ni ishara kwamba watu wa Homa Bay na watu ambao wamejiandikisha kama wanachama wa UDA wamejitokeza kwa wingi sana.
In West Pokot, the voting tablets which arrived late failed to work, leaving party members frustrated. In Busia County, the voting tablets failed to work, delaying the exercise. Apol Kamau, TV47.
Let's get sporty. The 6th edition of the Rallycross zooms off this weekend at the Kasarani Super Spectator Stage in Nairobi County. The Saturday and Sunday race has attracted teams from Kenya, Uganda and Zambia. The competition, which is the brainchild of rally legend Carl Tundo, will also feature an Amapiano after party. Tony Kolanda has more.
The first race of the 2024 Rallycross takes place this Saturday and Sunday at the Kasarani Super Spectator Stage in Nairobi County, the same competitive stage which was used during the WRC Safari Rally in March. 6 teams from Kenya, Uganda and Zambia have confirmed participation in the competition, which is the brainchild of multiple rally champion Carl Flash Tundo. Others are Team Jesop, Rally Guru Baldev Chaga, Rally Legend Asad Anwar, Youngster Hamza Anwar, Tash Tundo and Jennifer Malik. Each of the 6 teams will be made up of a current or former motorsport champion, a veteran driver, a female driver and a junior driver. 5 cars will compete simultaneously on a circuit and they will race in heats as they seek to make it to the finals. The circuit will feature mixed surfaces including unpaved, gravel and tarmac. This will be the first of 3 Rallycross events this year, which has partnered with the Amapiano Tour team. Tony Kolanda, TV47 Sport.
Time now for another short break, but don't go away because Disruptive Friday will be here in about 2 minutes or even less. You want to know how to make money online? Keep it here.
Is your school bag ready? It's the Naivas Kikapu Kibonge Super Safari. With the widest choice, the biggest deals, the highest loyalty points ever at your Naivas Kiloko. Right for the books at the back. Ni njia ya kikweli kurudi shuleni. Naivas Kikapu Kibonge Super Safari. Back to school stay. Walisema hatuendi mbali. Naivas saves you money.
Promoting insurance awareness with Insurance Regulatory Authority. Work Injury Benefits Act (WIBA) guarantees that employees get financial compensation from their employers when by accident they suffer injury, become disabled, contract occupational disease or die while at work. WIBA Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali. Ni
nikuwe na Nissan kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check on
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. This is Disruptive Friday, and today we're talking about how the digital space has disrupted entertainment. And of course, I have with me Martin Muli, who's the coordinator, International Creator Day Kenya, and is also the director of Soma Awards. Welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you.
And of course, I have Naomi Mutua, who's a content creator and communications expert. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So I want to start with you, Naomi. As a content creator, what do you think, or rather, how do you think from when we started creating films for terrestrial television stations like this, how has the journey been like to now independent content creators coming up with their own ways, their independent ways of earning money online? Take us through the journey briefly.
I think it's been an incredible journey, and of course, technology has had the larger role to play in it. The fact that moving from traditional media, TV, not just TV, but TV, print, radio, and into digital channels, it gives the creator a lot more autonomy to have a voice, to have an opinion, and to have a style of what they want to create. So the platforms have really changed how we present ourselves and what content we create, and that has largely been driven by technology in terms of the internet, access to the internet, the availability of social media platforms, and more importantly, the mobile phone has really revolutionized how we film content, because it's a small device, an individual can own it at a reasonable cost, and the technology on it is amazing. Yeah.
Martin, you're someone who's deeply involved in fostering creativity through International Creator Day Kenya and Soma Awards. How do you think the digital space currently is revolutionizing how we tell our own stories?
Thank you, Eric, for hosting us. I think the space has changed. The space has been democratized by what we'd call digital technology. A few years ago, even breaking news was a monopoly of the mainstream media, but today, anyone from any part of the world can break news. So that has democratized the space. If you look at the way digital technology is and the media, we have so many options today. There's so many opportunities for citizens to engage, not just with some of the brands that we've been talking about, but citizens amongst themselves. Citizens are also able to generate a lot of income through some of these different digital platforms that we have. So I think this has changed, and we're seeing more opportunities coming up, not just for businesses, but for young people to create job opportunities and start their own businesses.
Yeah. And I like that you've mentioned something very important there, breaking news. I'm in that space as a journalist. You're saying the space has been democratized. But don't you also think as we have opportunities, there's also the risk of spreading misinformation and disinformation, and sometimes even breaking news without ethics, or even considering a case in point what happened last week, even considering what families of people who probably in unfortunate circumstances feel.
Yes, I think we face that risk, but that's what innovation is about. Innovation is about disruption. And when we get disrupted as a society, then we need to educate the citizens. We need to let them know that this is a good medium, but everyone today is like a media house. So we need to let them know they have power. And how do they regulate themselves? There's been a lot of conversation about regulations. How do you regulate the industry?
Yes.
But the most powerful approach would be self-regulation. And self-regulation will come through education. So we need to continuously educate the public about the power of social media and the different digital platforms that we have. And let them know that not just to, we don't need to control them. We need to let them know that they have a lot of power. You know, whatever they share online will affect different people. So I think disruption is good. I think technology is good. We need to talk about regulation, but we should not go very fast to regulate the industry. We need to educate the citizens.
And Naomi, you wear many hats. You're a content creator and a communication expert. Do you agree with what he says? Self-regulation, do you think, first of all, it's even possible?
I think in a world with so many billion people, it might be a difficult task, but I think we've seen it happening already. It's simple, it's about educating the consumer, and it's media literacy. So one, being able to discern the fact that there's misinformation, disinformation, and fake news. I think people have actually learned how to distinguish between all those, and to also learn to rely on media. You play a big role in trust. You're the ones who have gone through journalism education, and you know the ethics of creating news. So we come back to you to understand whether is this real news, is it fake news, how has it been manipulated? Because most media houses tend to give us a true picture of what is happening and an ethical picture. So I think, yes, it's possible for people to self-regulate, and I think it actually needs to be a critical part of our education. Our children are being born into a digital age. They know nothing else. How will they grow up if we don't create these education channels for them? But again, it's not about regulation, and it's not about censorship. It's about being able to teach people to discern on what to do with the power that they have. Yeah.
And so as a content creator, which strategies do you think are particularly effective to monetize one's content?
I think the first thing is that as a creator, you must have your own style of how you present your content. Getting that creativity out of you is very important, and that is what will attract the audience to you. So understanding who you are and how you present your content is very important, but also the platform that you use. You cannot always be everywhere, in as much as we have so many platforms to work from, but you must figure out which is your primary channel, create content primarily for that, then distribute it to the rest. In terms of maybe monetizing it, it's understanding what brands do you align with, but also how can the audience support you as a channel. You don't always have to earn money from the brands. The audience can be the one funding your efforts. Yeah.
Well, and I want to stay with you here. Don't you think the market will soon be saturated? Because nowadays I see everything. People are doing, you know, I want to say crazy. Okay, let me just say crazy stuff online just to create content and get the likes. Do you think now probably the market has already been saturated?
I don't think so. There's always room. It's like saying we have enough books in the world. We don't have enough books in the world. There's always someone wanting to learn something new, get entertained by a different person. So there's always an audience somewhere. It may not be the big audience that you crave. You might not be able to capture that whole audience, but there'll always be an audience. Even if it's an audience of one, that is still an audience. So I think there's still a lot of space because creativity is very wide. You will find someone to take interest in what you do. Yeah.
And Martin, your awards have celebrated outstanding digital content creators, and this 4 years now. So how have you observed that evolution of monetization strategies among those that you celebrate?
No, we've seen a lot of growth. You know, you're talking about saturation, but we're seeing a lot of growth in the industry. And this growth is driven by one, knowledge of the different opportunities that are there, and especially within the different platforms that are there. And you've seen also not just growth in education, but also we have new platforms that are coming up. Yeah. So with the new platforms that are coming up, our users get an opportunity to learn how to monetize them. So we're seeing better ways of generating more income through different online platforms. A few years ago, most of the platforms were not monetizing. Just recently, we've seen the president leading from the front, and now we have Meta, that is Instagram and Facebook, are just about to start monetizing some of their platforms, starting in June. We've seen TikTok coming to the market, and monetization on TikTok is not just through brands. You know, I was having a chat with Naomi, and you're saying that if you go to TikTok, you know, we say online there are some streets that you can spend time on. Now, people will talk about, you know, what happens at night, but there are very interesting things happening at night today. Young people are selling their products online. So that transition from just creating content to now turning it into a social commerce. Most of the young people, you know, you get your product, you go online because they understand who their target. They'll talk about their products, they have their payment options, you know, an M-Pesa number. And they'll tell you, buy this product and then I'll get it delivered. So we're seeing a lot of growth in how young people monetize their content. So once you've been able to create a content and you've been able to identify some of the products that you need to sell, they start monetizing them. And it's become a lifestyle. Unlike what used to happen a few years ago. So we are looking at the monetization trends. And you see, monetization is not just about even product, it's about talent, the views that you get, and that's how you're able to share revenue with some of the platforms, especially short videos. Look at, let me just say, YouTube, some of the reels on some of these platforms, you're able to monetize through the number of views that you get. So we encourage young people to create content based on their creativity and their talent, and they're able to monetize.
Okay. Martin, you've talked about something very important here, the president having to push those big multinationals for us to get monetization opportunities. What changed? Because I don't believe there's anything that changed, and this is a tech show. Do you think we can have a tech solution instead of us waiting for those big corporations to come up with platforms? We can come up with our own, because there's been that debate that their business practices favor the Western world. Do you think we can come up with a tech solution on this side of the world to take care of our own problems?
I believe that will be driven by leadership. It's simply about leadership. You've just talked about what happened with the president taking the lead. It's simply because the president realized there was an opportunity. And of course, there's a challenge of young people who are jobless. But there's an opportunity for them to create jobs through the different digital platforms. So it led from the front and it negotiated with the platform owners and showed them the opportunity. I mean, this market is growing. Let's also talk about the enablers of online businesses, connectivity. We are getting more connected, more people are getting connected, more people understand how to use these different platforms, and gadgets are more affordable. If you look at what the president was able to do a few months ago, he also went to launch one of the cheapest smartphones, because we need connectivity, we need the gadgets, and we need the platforms to be able to monetize. So if you build an ecosystem, an enabling ecosystem, then we are able to innovate and create our own local solutions. The only thing that we need is an enabling environment for young people to transform and create our own local problems, our own local technology solutions that solves the local problems. And we're also seeing the tech ecosystem is growing, and especially when it comes to supporting young people. Any innovation that is coming up, we need more people to support, and especially when it comes to financing. We already understand how to set up a business, grow it, but financing has been a challenge, but we've seen more people coming on board to support that.
Still, go back to my question. Local solutions for local problems. Do you think a tech solution is possible for us?
It is possible. I think it's possible. We are very innovative, creative young people, and the environment is good and can support our own innovations. I think in terms of leadership, we just need to have what the president did. We need to encourage young people to start their own local solutions for the local problems. And we are going to have local solutions that are for Kenyans.
Okay.
But it's about leadership.
All right.
Yes.
Naomi, with your background in communication, I'm sure you understand the importance of storytelling in engaging audiences. What can content creators do to leverage the power of storytelling to engage more and more people, to have them consume their content without having to do things that are considered not really normal in the societal setting?
Yeah, and when you talk about things that are normal, it's very subjective. What is normal to me is not normal to you.
Societal norms?
Yes, but still, even then, you find there's always a niche, an outlier, and with an audience for that.
Right.
So maybe instead of controlling and giving them a specific narrative, it's just letting them understand that they can create and create widely. When you want to tell a story, it must be compelling. It must be entertaining, educative, informative. There are a few facets of storytelling that you can use. But what we don't want to do is make them feel like their content is not worth it. So they start self-censoring, stifling their own ideas. So let them actually just feel free to create what you want to create. When you hit the right spot, you will hit the right spot. And you find that often it's very simple things that make something go viral. You never intended it to go viral. It has its own, it grows its own legs, but it's because you've hit the sweet spot, and then you realize what it is that you've found, and you keep creating that. However, I do understand that some people do things to chase clout, as we call it. It may not be very ethical sometimes, because they do it with malicious intent, and we've seen that a lot on some platforms. Just putting out content that is either hurtful to other people, it's false. What we can't really regulate everybody. It's like telling everybody to just keep quiet. But let the audience make the discernment. The audience is smart. We must always remember that. They are able to, maybe they might not be able to tell at the first instance, but after a while they can see the trend here, and they can tell what is real and what is not. Yeah.
Right.
So let's not stifle that creativity.
You talked about malicious people. The audience also can take you down. I've seen people trying really hard to come up with engaging content. Some think it's funny, and you scroll down the comments, someone goes like, at what point are we supposed to laugh? I mean, let's talk about online bullying now.
Yeah.
How can you handle that as a content creator?
It's not very easy to everybody to handle online bullying, but I think mental health is important. We need, as content creators, to understand our own capacity of handling such things. Get the help you need for the first instance. At the first instance, be able to speak to someone to help you understand what you're going through. And sometimes it's necessary to also step back for your own good.
Mental health.
Step back, take a look at what people are saying. Are they just being malicious, or is there some truth to what they're telling you? Because sometimes criticism can be considered as bullying, so criticism can be constructive. But take a step back and understand what people are telling you. If you feel it's too much, you can also actually just switch off for a bit, come back when things have toned down. And the cycle of these things can be very quick. In an hour, people can have moved on to something else. And it's unfortunate that people have to be this malicious. And like we're saying, some people do it to get clout. And it's very, it's terrible when you're inflicting that on someone else. But you actually, just take a step back, grow maybe a bit of a thick skin sometimes, and understand that it's not about you as a person, it's maybe just who they think you are online. And out of it all, I think most people have come out more resilient from these incidents. Yeah.
All right. Martin, there's a very important question here that I must ask you, and it's just something that I came across. Scientists, or rather researchers, are worried that with the rise of short format video platforms, our attention span seems to be shrinking. Isn't that something to get us worried? Our kids in school, young people, the future of this country, our attention span seems to be shrinking.
Yeah, just echo what Anomia said. Mental health, your wellness as a person. So we need to think about that. How can you take care of yourself? But I think technology has changed, and it's changing how we interact. Short form video, it's part of our online interaction. But think about what artificial intelligence has done. You can just go online. You type what you want to get from some of the AI applications, and you're able to get all the answers. So I think it's not just about a risk that you need to talk about for young people, but we need to talk about the opportunities that are there. Artificial intelligence, technology, short-form video, all these innovations that you're talking about make our lives easier. Whether you're working or you're at home, they're there to make our lives easier. So we need to adopt them and figure out how do we integrate them within the society and within the workplace. You know, look at the history and the growth of technology. Sometimes back with Google, and you just go online and Google, and people would, you know, start talking about job losses and all that, but it became part of our lives. So short form videos are very important because the online space has become very competitive. There's a lot of information being served online. So brands, again, that share short form video or even creators need to know that the space has become very competitive. And for our young people, we just need to educate them and make sure that they integrate this as part of their everyday lives, and we look at the opportunities that are there. Yes.
Naomi, as a content creator, at what point do you now say, now I think I've made it, I've hit, as you call it, the right spot? At what point do you now decide now it's the good time to have a subscription-based model or a paywall if you're a writer for that, you know, for that case?
I actually don't think subscription models are necessarily the right way to go, especially like we were discussing for news channels, for long-form written content. Sometimes it can stifle you from monetizing it. I think you need to find the value additions that you can give to your audiences to keep them on your channel. So I don't think monetizing needs to be about subscription.
Mention some of them. The value additions that you
I mean, you could get value additions, one in the form of advertising on your platforms directly, so you and how you're monetizing. You could move on from long form content and create bite-sized content, short form content, or the reverse, from short form to long form. Like you're asking, we seem to have shorter attention spans, but you find that with most people, when they want to learn more about a subject, they'll then look for the long form content. There are opportunities to monetize without paywalls. The paywalls don't necessarily work for each market, and you find that less and less people are using them. So just because it's been tested and done by someone else doesn't mean it will work for you. You actually have to find what is right for you. So paywalls and subscriptions are not necessarily the only way. Find what makes money for you.
Okay.
Yes. Don't necessarily copy what everybody else is doing. Yeah.
Martin.
Yeah, if you really have to make money from paywalls, then you need to have unique content that is well researched. You know, and for you to be a successful content creator through paywalls, in terms of monetization, spend a lot of time, discover a certain niche. You have to be an expert in a specific niche, and then do a lot of research, because for someone to pay for your content, they have to get value out of it. We don't want to pay for content that is available everywhere out there. So you need to create some time, a lot of time to research, build a lot of value into your content, and then find the right audience for that content, because it's not for everyone. When someone pays, they need to get value out of it. But if I can access the same content, somewhere else, why do I have to pay for it?
Well, as a person who's dealt with content creators for so long over the years, I'm sure you know some of the monetization strategies that some of the most successful content creators use. Let's put, let's call it black, and we call white. Tell our audience what are some of this, some of the best ways one can monetize their content online.
The first thing is, before you even monetize, make sure you have unique content, content that is targeted to a specific audience. So understand your audience and the kind of content that you're sharing and how they like accessing that content. But some of the things that you've seen is some platforms have inbuilt monetization features. If you go to TikTok, there's a lot of opportunities for monetization. There are donations. I'm sure you've heard that conversation about tap and when people are having conversations with their audiences. If you go to YouTube, there are also opportunities through your videos. You share videos and then you get so many views and you can share some of the revenues through advertisements. So advertisements are also opportunities for monetization through your content. So you need to generate views so that you can be able to monetize. There's also an opportunity to work with different brands. Some of these big brands are able to pay for the attention that you get as a content creator. And that's an opportunity to monetize your content. But you can also make sales. You know, once you've been able, you see, monetization is about the attention that you're able to get from your audience. If you control that attention, then you can also sell some of the products that you have, either your own products or you can sell other people's products. And those are opportunities for generating income online.
Okay. As we wrap this up, yes?
I think the other thing that people haven't actually thought about is beyond the online platform, what can you do when you're offline? One, you can be a producer, so you can produce content, not just for yourself, but for others. And some people have successfully gone on to do that, where they end up with a production house hosting a lot of creators under their wing. There are also others who work with collaborators with other creators, and you share revenues maybe from a brand. So collaborations are very useful. But you can also think about things like, because you've built your own brand, why not look for things like speaking opportunities and appearances, where you go beyond the online platform and go offline to speak to your audience. So it's not just about monetizing online. Think about what that opens up for you and find other ways to make money.
All right, in 30 seconds or less, you've talked about partnerships. How do you ensure that everything is on paper? If you're to partner with the content producer, how do you make sure that everything is legally bound, and then when you decide to part ways, no one will feel they've been taken advantage of?
I think it begins when first you match your values so that you understand what you want is aligned, your values and your objectives, what you want to do. A contract is easy to draw up. Make sure that the contract is in a language you both understand, and it sets out the terms of what you're supposed to do. It's that simple. But never ignore the power of a contract. It's what will make or break you if there's an issue.
All right. Martin, I want to give you 30 seconds for your parting shot as the founder of International Creators Day. 30 seconds or less.
This is a great opportunity, not just for young people, but for everyone. To go online, generate content, then think of ways of monetizing it. But we can just say that the world is changing. We need to explore different ways of using online media and use online media positively. I think we had a very good conversation about bullying. Let's be responsible digital citizens and know that whatever you're going to share online might affect someone else. So be a responsible digital citizen, but also remember there are opportunities for you to generate income and also get a career out of it.
All right, thank you very much, Martin Muli, the founder of International Creator Day, and Naomi Mutua, of course, a communications expert and a content creator. Thank you so much for that conversation. And thank you to viewer for staying